startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there. If I ask you a question, how many events have you been to overall?
We don't do all kind of events. Let's say we don't do wedding events. That's a completely different forte. That's not our expertise, and we don't want to get into it either. So our forte has always been corporate. It's a different ball game dealing with a family or dealing with a corporate client. So that's a complete different sector.
What do you think people miss out on when they don't go to events? Because you go to events, but you also curate events for so many people.
True.
तो एक इवेंट एक्चुअली होता क्या है और उसमें जाने से फ़ायदा क्या होता है? Because I've been to over 150 conferences globally.
So in Pakistan, one thing that we learned ourselves, and we always promote it, like really to make a strong ecosystem around it, is the guest experience, the attendee journey.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is SaadAhmedAllahwala hai and welcome back to another podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Hasan bhai, who is the founder of Keys Production. इनके events में LinkedIn पे तो काफ़ी दिन से देख ही रहा था, मगर I got a chance to really attend one of his events, which was phenomenal. मतलब ऐसा लग रहा था कि मैं actual Oscars में बैठा हूँ, क्योंकि वो था भी awards का event और इतने जिस तरीके से curated था, I was blown away. I haven't been to a nicely curated event than that in Pakistan. So I have the honor to host him today on our podcast. उनसे बात जानेंगे कि actual events होते क्या हैं, वो कैसे आए इस दुनिया में और किस तरीके से हम उनसे क्या क्या सीख सकते हैं. So thank you so much for coming, Hasan bhai, today.
Thank you, pleasure being here.
हम काफ़ी दिन से कोऑर्डिनेट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, अब जाके फाइनली आज टाइम मिला है.
Yes. And it's like my throat is completely out today, so I'm going to sound very funny on this podcast.
मेरे लिए तो आप ऐसी आवाज़ है मेरी, आप मेरे लिए तो आपकी आवाज़ ऐसी है कि आपको मुझे कोई वीडियोस मिली नहीं.
सुन रहे होंगे, they were like, okay, this is my actual voice, but this is
Hasan
not.
bhai's voice. So Hasan bhai, I'd like to know more about you first. So where are you from? Where were you born? Where did you study? And how did you get into this industry?
So I think thank you so much, Saad, first of all, for having me today. Pleasure. और यार बचपन जो है वो शुरुआत जिस तरह सारे नॉर्मल मिडिल क्लास फैमिलीज़ के अंदर होती हैं वैसे ही हुई थी. Father was a government officer, got retired early. My mom became a working woman as well. Mom was very keen on education. She was an educationist herself.
अच्छा.
खुद भी ज़्यादा उन्होंने काफ़ी ज़्यादा पढ़ा है, this and that. So like the पढ़ाई thing came from her side, and she always used to say that like just study well and that's going to help you lifelong. So वो अम्मा की बहुत सारी चीज़ें काम आई. Schooling के बाद I went to university, FAST, Karachi campus. And just like any other kid, at that time, there was no concept of career counseling or anything. I thought that maybe I wanted to go towards an art school, but उस time पे मुझे कोई choice नहीं दी गई थी. And I was told that, okay, you just have to go and get this program. So I started engineering, computer/telecom engineering. Wow. Very hardcore technical degree. Graduated, not with a very good GPA. I'm not going to tell my GPA on this podcast. And after that, so like during my university days, I was part of the student council. We had some student bodies back in the Fastian days. And then उसके दौरान बहुत सारे events attend भी किए, बहुत सारे events करवाए भी. So that's where I got to know about the art that I had, that is event management, getting things done, communicating with different kind of people, bringing in the sponsors, and I was pretty good at it. Like so, university में student councils के साथ मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा काम किया, and I became a pretty limelight figure of the university as well. Got some awards as well. So that thing really helped us. And Pakistan, unfortunately, when you talk about telecom or computer or any kind of hardware engineering, so Pakistan doesn't do any manufacturing. So there was never a job scope, and obviously nobody knew that at the time of when we were starting the program. So either you had to move towards the software side or move towards the networking side, which was very run of the mill for me.
So if I cut you in the middle, मुझे बताएं कि आपकी डिग्री में ज़्यादा फोकस इसी पे था कि जो टेक्नोलॉजी इटसेल्फ पे या सॉफ्टवेयर साइड पे?
So the degree was very hardcore on communication. You can say wireless communication and different modes and forms of communication. It was pretty much on, let's say, circuitries as well, like how to make communication systems and everything. And again, this was the time from between 2005 till 2010 when Pakistan was going through a telecom boom. New
Right.
companies were coming up. I remember like Telenor recently launched around that time, and uska ek bahut zyada boom chal raha tha. But nobody realized that the job market is going to get very saturated. So when I graduated, they were not good jobs. Either you needed a good reference or you needed to start from a very low point. So I still remember I did my, you can say, a small fellowship at Mobilink. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use the brand's name. पहले ही हफ्ते के अंदर मुझे कुछ टावर्स पे भेजा गया इन इंटीरियर से, एंड मैं वैन में बैठ के कुछ इंजीनियर्स की टीम के साथ. सो आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वीक आई केम बैक एंड आई रियलाइज़ कि यार ये तो नहीं हो पाएगा. This is not where I studied this program. And luckily, I got a small opportunity to do some events, a very small events company. And घर पे नहीं बताया, जाके काम स्टार्ट कर दिया. जब थोड़े से पैसे शैसे बनाना स्टार्ट किए, फिर जाके अम्मा को बताया. बहुत सारी गालियाँ भी पड़ी कि बेटा आपको पढ़ाया लिखाया इसलिए है. Events were never in okay field in Pakistan until very recent times. There was never any degree around it as well. Especially when I started, there was no even a media sciences or a multimedia program as well. So ये काफ़ी recent है. जिस टाइम पे मैं graduate हो रहा था उस टाइम पे इतना ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं था. But ये था कि with consistency and hard work, it took me some time to convince my own family. Now the situation is my mom brags about me and takes my name everywhere. She's proud of me. So like from that time to this time, the journey has been amazing. I worked at a couple of agencies before starting my own company, and those journeys have been really amazing. Learned a lot, worked under different kind of people, and finally around 2014-15 I decided to do something on my own. That's where Keys Productions happened, and Keys Productions is now almost 8 years old, doing very well, alhamdulillah. We're one of the best in the country when it comes to like customized events or high scale corporate events or product launches or any kind of event which requires extreme amount of detailing or global standards. That has been our forte, alhamdulillah. So yeah, the journey has been amazing. Like I can talk about it for hours, but this is the shortest answer I could give.
No,
right
I
away.
think I got to see. I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it before hosting you, because पहले मैंने नहीं किया हुआ था. So I now have context कि जी कितना अच्छा काम है इनका actually. So as you said कि जी events का काम पहले लोग करना नहीं चाहते थे, कोई अच्छा काम नहीं समझा जाता था, and now it's something that's glamorous also, but also there's so much scope. मुझे जो एक इवेंट मैनेजर के टर्म्स में अगर मैं पूछना चाहूँ कि इवेंट एक्चुअली होता क्या है, इज़ इट जस्ट अ गैदरिंग, इज़ इट जस्ट कि जी मैंने डेकोरेशन कर दी, इज़ इट सो अ लॉट मोर देन दैट?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and then again, events has separate types as well. So let's say that somebody says that, oh, I'm a textile designer or a fashion designer. So there can be multiple forms of it. There can be possibilities around. Either you're a menswear designer, you're a women's wear designer, you're a kids designer, you're a formal designer, or you're a party wear designer, or you're an eastern wear designer. So like उसमें बहुत सारी sub forms हैं. So events के अंदर भी ऐसा ही है कि events की भी बहुत सारी sub forms हैं. Let's say we don't do all kind of events. Let's say we don't do wedding events. That's a completely different forte. That's not our expertise, and we don't want to get into it either. So our forte has always been corporate. It's a different ball game dealing with a family or dealing with a corporate client. So that's a complete different sector. There are a lot of educational events around trainings and different kind of educational events.
Right.
Again, that is a very different thing as well. I think an event can be anything, and I feel like everyone can be an event manager if you need to be a good manager first. First thing, in event management is all about bringing every single thing onto the same platform and managing it nicely. एक जिसमें interesting factor है that the success rate is only 100%. Even if you're 99.9% perfect and you have 0.1% mistake, you're a failure. So that's the trickiest part about events, and especially when you talk about live events, nothing can go wrong.
I know.
That's your brief. Like
डर लगता है सोच के सिर्फ भाई.
yes. So again, you need to have right amount of planning. You need to have right amount of contingency plans as well. You need to have the right amount of backups. I'll give you an example. Let's say जब हम कोई बहुत बड़ा इवेंट कर रहे होते हैं जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा स्टेक्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, तो मैं आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ that we use power generators to power our events because we use heavy lights, lots of sound and different machineries. So it's not possible for any commercial venue or a hotel to give the entire power to us. So we use generators for that. We use backup generators, and then we use backup generators for backup generators to make sure that the event doesn't stop for even a single second. Because even if it stops, like we have to do the whole programming again. आपकी screens की programming सारी उड़ जाएगी, आपकी lights की programming सारी उड़ जाएगी, आपकी सारी settings out हो जाएंगी. So we need to make sure that we don't get even 1 second of interruption during our events. So that's the level of detailing we go into. So now you can imagine like any other thing, we want to make sure that, let's say we're feeding 1,000 people at our event. The food needs to have a certain temperature. Even if it goes 15 minutes up or down, that's a disaster. And we have to make sure. So let's say we do minute by minute sheets of every event. Whenever we start an event, we know exactly at what time this event is going to end. And again, the right amount of planning, the right amount of experience. Khair, up to mashallah, we have done so much that things are on our fingertips. But again, to this date, every event that we do, we always do the checklist. We do checklist meetings. We do precautionary meetings. Sometimes my team hates me because it's like, "Ke yaar, ye boss ko pata hai ki inko yahi jawab milna hai," but I still do the checklist because you never know that something might come up at the last moment, and again, we can't take the risk. And the biggest responsibility that an event manager has is that there are too many stakes involved. So let's say if we're doing an annual sales conference or a product launch or any kind of event for any corporate client or a group of corporate clients, there are certain stakes and there are certain stakeholders involved. And one mistake, one laziness can impact on a lot of careers and lives, both in a positive way and in a negative way as well. So again, that sense of responsibility is what makes you a good event manager. And as I said, that to be an event manager, you need to be a good manager, first of all. And it's about managing certain amount of things under one project. That's what event management is all about. And it varies from situation to situation. It does not matter if it's a small event or a very big event, because if you do good work, people want to work with you again. Right. So like whenever we do any event, it really doesn't matter what is the size of the event, what are the numbers involved, because we know, like we have had clients जिन्होंने हमारे साथ कोई पहला काम 20,000 रुपए का किया, they ended up working with us for 200 million का project. There have been clients जिन्होंने हमारे साथ शुरू में
200 million for an event?
Not for one event, maybe like 4 events. But that client gave us, let's say, talking on yearly numbers. Okay. So let's say we have clients who give us साल में 100 million का business, या 200 million का business, या 300 million का business. Alhamdulillah, we have such clients now. So we make sure that अब उन clients का कोई एक छोटू सा भी कोई काम आता है, which my office boy can easily do. Still, we gotta do the checklist and make sure that no wrong impression goes to that client, because that client is really important to us. So again, it's a mixture of all these things. People used to think that it's a very easy field. It's not. The way it's increasing now, it's same as content. Like people used to think that making content is the easiest thing. Hello, but it's not. So same is the thing when it comes to event management. It's pretty hard, but it's fun as well. The fun part is that we get to work with new clients each time. We get to meet new people. We get to work. We get to know about new things and new industries. Let's say we're working with an oil refinery company. Yeah. That's a different learning experience. We're working with an FMCG. that's a different experience. We're working with an automobile company, that's a different experience. So yes, if you love working in this field, you're gonna have fun. Otherwise, we had some people who came to the office and never came back again the next day. So we've had such crowd as well. So I think event management is this fun thing. You need to be very, very responsible if you want to be an event manager. There's no fun otherwise अगर आप responsible नहीं है. So you need to be very responsible. You need to be consistent. वरना ये होता है कि आपने पहले शुरू में बहुत अच्छा काम किया, there's like ये तो मैं easily आंखें बंद करके कर लूँगा. That's where you go wrong. You need to have continuous improvement as well. Sometimes no competition is also a lot of competition. You know, like you're doing your best, but you also need to be aware that what others are capable of, because your competition is everyone. So again, there's no fixed explanation to what is event management. Event management is all about managing things. It's just like when we manage things at home as well. That's also an event management. Our moms are good event managers, you know. बचपन से वो दावतें करती आ रही है मेहमानों की, एंड शी नोज़ क्या पकाना है, कितना पकाना है, कैसे करना है. शी इज़ ऑल्सो एन इवेंट मैनेजर एंड शी डज इट ईच टाइम प्रीटी वेल. सो सिमिलरली it's all about consistency, continuous improvement as well, and a mixture of so many other things.
That's a great description and a very long one, but I think it was justified, Kiji, because there's again so many components that go to it. But another thing that I'd like to ask is कि चलो event management आपने समझा दी, but so you've been to, if I ask you a question, how many events have you been to overall?
I've been to, or the ones that we have organized?
Let's just say you've been to.
So like I've always I always wanted to attend certain events. Let's say I wanted to go to some music festivals or jazz festivals or some theater festivals or some big conferences. So I was lucky enough to roam the world and then went to like most of the amazing franchise events I could be there, like places like Ultra Music Fest or Tomorrowland or DC Jazz Festival or New Orleans Jazz Festival. So
you're a good fan of jazz, right?
I call myself good fan of jazz. Still not like very experienced on that side.
लेकिन सुनने में मजा आता है.
Like it's a great, one of the greatest genre of music for sure, no doubt on that. And other than jazz as well, like went to see a lot of commercial concerts as well. Other than that, I've been to a lot of different kind of conferences and exhibitions. Let's say we have some exhibitions that happen globally for event managers and event companies. So Keys Production has been privileged enough that we're one of the very few companies, or maybe the only company from Pakistan who have been on different events platforms around the world. So I think I've attended many events regionally. Pakistan के अंदर भी बहुत सारे events attend किए हैं, and have a mixture of events, you can say, different forms.
नहीं, मगर मैं तो नंबर पूछ रहा था.
I think if you ask number, maybe minimum 200, I guess. इतने तो किए होंगे attend, I'm sure.
So the question I wanted to lead to was कि अच्छा अगर आप 200 events आपने attend किए हैं, so you know what essentially events are and the experience they give you. What do you think people miss out on when they don't go to events? Because you go to events, but you also curate events for so many people.
True.
तो एक event actually होता क्या है और उसमें जाने से फ़ायदा क्या होता है? Because I've been to over 150 conferences globally. मैं तो सारे बिजनेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में गया हूँ, मगर मुझे पता है कि जी उसमें जो चीज़ एक इंसान को मिल सकती है, जो नेटवर्क मिल सकता है या जो चीज़ें सीखने को मिलती हैं, they're just, you can't really replicate that by going to even 100 corporate offices.
True.
तो क्योंकि मैं आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू उसमें से सीखना चाह रहा हूँ.
Sure.
कि एज एन इवेंट मैनेजर, व्हाट इज़ योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू के दैट यू लुक आफ्टर कि पीपल शुड एक्सपीरियंस व्हेन दे अटेंड एन इवेंट?
I think one thing that I really learned attending a lot of global events, that in Pakistan, even we used to make the similar mistake in our earlier days. We focus a lot on look and feel, how an event looks like. But we miss out the most important thing, which is the attendee journey. That's the language we use. Attendee experience, guest experience. के जो event को attend करने आ रहे हैं, वो क्या experience लेके जा रहे हैं. You just mentioned that you've had a lot of networking opportunities at a lot of global conferences, and they do it pretty well. So in Pakistan, one thing that we learned ourselves, and we always promote it, like really to make a strong ecosystem around it, is the guest experience, the attendee journey. If you have 500 guests at your event, जिसमें से 490 आपको thumbs up देके जा रहे हैं और 10 लोग sad जा रहे हैं, तो आपका event successful नहीं है. People need to learn that in Pakistan. What happens that a lot of agencies make this mistake that they only focus on the higher management. They only focus on the bosses. कि bosses खुश हैं तो सब okay. They don't realize कि वो जो अभी young managers हैं या assistant managers हैं, 5 साल वो bosses होंगे. So they're not going to take your shit after 5 years, and they're going to replace you with another agency who can give them better experience. So I think one thing which is most important in events industry in Pakistan, कि जैसे मैंने बहुत सारे events खुद attend किए पाकिस्तान में, और जहाँ पे attendee experience उतना मज़ेदार नहीं था, और मैंने 2 दिन बाद उसी event की videos और pictures देखी जिसमें वो बहुत different sound कर रहा है या बहुत different दिख रहा है. And that's where things go south here. Okay, people focus a lot on the look and feel, that how an event should look like, rather than focusing on what experience people are taking. Be it a learning experience, be it any other kind of experience. If it's a fun event, if it's a very creative event, so people need to lead in those directions. That is something I feel like misses out in Pakistan badly.
Yeah, see, I think so my experience very strongly that I've had regarding this has been, अभी recently एक Spotify का event हुआ था. Now that event, how it was curated visually was out of this world. But the experience you have as a person, it was just horrible. Because people are not engaging, they're only there for the pictures, and then online तो वो ऐसा लग रहा है कि पता नहीं क्या event है. लेकिन वैसे वहाँ पे इतना
yeah, like this thing exists in Pakistan. You know, like there are a lot of such festivals, be it related to music, food, or whatever, that there's a lot of hype, but the attendees do not get the right amount of attention.
ऐसे ही है.
So because सबसे ज़्यादा वो important है. You know, like if you go to a football match abroad in Europe, let's say, you know, the kind of attention those fans get, that's the most important thing for that football match. It's fine, like the players get the maximum attention, but that does not mean that कि जो fans वो match देखने आए हैं उनको attention नहीं मिलेगा. नहीं, उनका attention बहुत important है. And that's where those players run towards their fans to say thank you to them after winning a match or scoring a goal. So I think ये एक, again, actually Pakistan में, I'm not going to blame anyone. I don't think
it's only on Pakistan. This has been globally, मतलब ये होता है.
That's where like we use this word कि वो जब client lowest quotation पे जाता है तो उसका impact कहीं ना कहीं आता है, and this is one of those impacts as well. Other than that, generally speaking, I feel like I have all my sympathies with all the agencies, be it our competition or no competition. I feel like that it's a pretty developing field in Pakistan. We never had a proper event management industry or events industry. One interesting fact I would tell you, Saad, that events industry globally is bigger than the oil industry. So the numbers involved in the events industry, so combining all the events, be it sporting events, technology events,
अच्छा sporting भी तो है,
and any kind of events. So the event industry generates more numbers than the oil.
कितना number है?
I don't have the exact number, but it's way bigger than the oil industry. So because जैसे पाकिस्तान में बहुत सारे areas अभी introduce ही नहीं हुए हैं, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता हो रहे हैं. Let's say people are not into destination weddings. That's a very elite thing in Pakistan still, because you don't have an industry around it. But in some of our surrounding countries, not too far, destination wedding, a lower middle class family can also afford a small destination wedding over there.
That's a great
and
idea.
The amount of money that people spend on weddings here, that still needs to be a better ecosystem. So हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज के थोड़े से इश्यूज हैं, बट टाइम के टाइम सही होंगे.
चले मसले तो होते रहेंगे, लेकिन as you mentioned this as an opportunity, and this is not something that I didn't think of. और क्या ऐसी opportunities हैं जो आपको लगता है कि यहाँ पे हो सकती हैं?
I feel like that we don't have too many event spaces. We still rely a lot on the spaces that we had always. Like, let's say हमारे यहाँ we don't have event arenas. If you talk about Dubai, let's say, there are a lot of people from Pakistan. Every 2 months, they travel to Dubai to attend a concert. Be it an Indian artist, be it a global artist, be it their favorite band, be it Backstreet Boys, Coca-Cola Arena, or Do Arena, or Etihad Arena, or Ferrari World, or something like that. You know, it's not too far.
बनवा लूँ आप उसको भर देंगे?
Of course, like there's a huge demand for that. Again, big investments. But Pakistan, मैं आपको छोटी सी एग्जांपल देता हूँ. आप दुबई का एग्जांपल ले लें, या बहुत सारे इंडियन स्पेसेस भी हैं, या थाईलैंड या मलेशिया. You go to any hotel, any normal 4-star hotel, and you're doing a small conference there or a wedding event, whatever, you'll find great production facilities over there. By production facilities, I mean that they will have proper ceiling structures, they would have soundproof halls, they would have facilities to enhance your production. So if you put up a nice set or a nice setup there, that's going to look really nice.
अच्छा.
In Pakistan, you do so much of hard work, you are left with the same hotels. And उसी हॉल के अंदर शादी भी होती है, उसी में मेहंदी भी हो रही है, उसी में कवाली भी हो रही है, उसी में आप EDM का फेस्ट भी कर रहे हैं, उसी में आप अवार्ड शो कर रहे हैं. So there's so much that you can do. And again, because of no competition, they have some monopolies as well. So one area that I feel like that we really need to focus on as an industry, because we need a lot of event arenas. That is one thing that is badly missing from Pakistan. Just like when we say कि यार हमारे पास players अच्छे नहीं आ रहे, भाई ground ही नहीं है आपके पास, तो जब तक players ground में खेलेंगे नहीं तो तब तक आगे कैसे आएंगे. Similarly, when people say यार पाकिस्तान में बड़े events नहीं होते, पाकिस्तान में Coldplay क्यों नहीं आ रहा, because if Coldplay sends the technical writer like their requirements, we won't be able to fulfill them. You know,
नेशनल स्टेडियम में नहीं भर सकते?
भर सकते हैं. Like if national stadium allows us to do that, there's nothing impossible. So like again, industry happens with different steps. तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता जब different steps होंगे तो industry obviously और आगे जाएगी.
So that's okay. So these are two things that you pointed out. Anything else that you see as a low-hanging fruit that so many event managers and these still little Instagram event management companies can initiate from, because it will only create an industry that you can also leverage off of initially in 5 years.
जैसे मैं example देता हूँ, very sensitive example, but होती जैसे पाकिस्तान में जब कोई फौतगी होती है तो आप किसी घर के बाहर शामियाना लगा हुआ देखते हैं और वहाँ खाना भी आ रहा है, देग आ रही है. That is also an event. So let's say if you go abroad, so you have proper funeral companies who manage everything for you. I feel like that can be the future in Pakistan, and that should be a very good community service as well.
Of course.
If even if you don't commercialize it, there can be a good community service, and कुछ लोगों का रोज़गार लग सकता है उससे कि like एक community service ऐसी हो कि अगर किसी का इंतकाल हो तो वो आके पूरी चीज़ को टेक केयर करें ताकि फैमिली अपनी फैमिली के ऊपर फोकस कर सके.
That's so true.
That is one area. Again, the reason I never gave this example is like बहुत sensitive है, लोग गालियाँ देते हैं.
I think it's a very very valid point.
But I feel like that's one untouched
अच्छा
area.
कुछ जगहों पे है भी, जैसे हमारी कम्युनिटी है दिल्ली वालों की, दिल्ली वालों की कम्युनिटी में है, लेकिन कराची 30 मिलियन लोगों का शहर है. हमारे लाख लोगों को सर्व करके 30 मिलियन लोग नहीं सर्व हो जाएंगे.
True, that is true.
So 97% कराची बाकी है, उस सबको सर्व करना है. Anything else that we can just point out very quickly?
I think we're very low on promoting arts, I would say. So अभी भी हमारे जितने events होते हैं, they're focusing very much on commercial art. So let's say that we don't have kids events. I feel that way. That is one area at Keys Production that we're very seriously working on for the next couple of years. That you see any food festival, music festival, shopping festival, everything is for adults. There's nothing specific for teens or kids. That's one big area. We say that we have a very huge young population in Pakistan. Or if you say that Karachi is 30 million ka shahar, so 30 million mein minimum 10 million to bacche hain. So that's 1/3 of the population. But we don't have anything specific for them. So that's one area I would in fact encourage other people as well to look into this, कि बच्चों के ऊपर काम नहीं हो रहा है, उनके लिए फ़न इवेंट्स नहीं हो रहे हैं, या कोई फैमिली टाइप के इवेंट्स नहीं हो रहे हैं जिसमें वो फ़न भी कर सकें, कुछ सीख भी सकें, और कुछ आर्टिस्टिक चीज़ें भी हों जिसमें बच्चों के लिए म्यूज़िक, ड्राइंग्स, different forms of art, storytelling, or theater, or musical, whatever. एक ज़माने में I still remember I was a kid. My dad took me to a circus. I think कहीं अलादीन पार्क की पार्किंग में लगा था. बहुत पुरानी बात है. And I think it was Lucky Rani Circus. मुझे नहीं पता कि अभी वो एग्जिस्ट करता है या नहीं करता. मैंने सुना नहीं है.
I've heard this name. I don't know.
Until recent, I think 5-10 साल पहले तक भी था. और I remember when I went there, तो मेरी तरह और बहुत सारे हज़ारों बच्चे अपने पेरेंट्स या फादर्स के साथ आए हुए थे. सो आई थिंक दैट्स वन एरिया आई फील लाइक इज़ मिसिंग आउट. किड्स इवेंट्स और टीन्स इवेंट्स. और एक नया टर्म मैंने रिसेंटली सीखा है, ट्वीन्स, द किड्स हु आर नॉट लाइक येट इन देयर 20s और लाइक
टीन होता है ना, टीन.
आई थिंक एक नया टर्म है, ट्वीन्स. आई थिंक दिस इज किड्स हु आर इन देयर वेरी रीसेंट teenage. They're called tweens and they have their own preferences. So I feel like उसके ऊपर बहुत सारा काम किया जा सकता है.
No, that's true. So a lot of people who are looking to expand into event management. अभी मैंने एक पोस्ट डाला जैसे आपको बोल भी रहा था बंदे का.
Okay.
तो मैंने फेसबुक पोस्ट डाला कि जी मुझे इवेंट मैनेजर चाहिए जो स्टार्टअप ग्राइंड एक कम्युनिटी जो कराची में है उसको, ये पूरा लिखा मैंने.
Right.
उसके लिए मैं हायर करूँ. अब हर एक इवेंट मैनेजर कह रहे हैं मैं आपको डेकोरेशन आपकी मैं कर दूँगा डेकोरेशन. भाई इवेंट डेकोरेशन थोड़ी होता है. इवेंट में स्पॉन्सर ऑन बोर्ड लाना है, कम्युनिटी मैनेजमेंट करनी है, आपने गेस्ट को ऑन बोर्ड लाना है, इसको कोऑर्डिनेट सब कुछ ही करना है. वो सब के लिए चाहिए बंदा, मुझे डेकोरेशन के लिए थोड़ी नहीं चाहिए.
True है. That's one misconception. Let's say we've had a lot of queries about wedding events and we always say this to those clients के we don't do weddings, and sometimes you don't have a very exact answer. Like when they asked us कि भाई क्यों नहीं कर रहे आप इवेंट्स करते तो हैं, बट हम उनको नहीं समझा पाते कि that's not our forte because there are different kind of emotions involved. So similarly सिर्फ डेकोरेशन करना is not event. जैसे हम जब corporate events करते हैं, so it has so many of detailing, like design rounds उसके इतने मुश्किल होते हैं. Then we have animations and the layouts, the technical drawings, the safety plans, and so much. So providing a complete package is not easy. Like,
yes,
it requires a lot of hard work. Yes.
Okay. So ultimately finishing off, but one of the questions I had, and I've always had in my mind, when I look at Karachi is a city of lights. We have so many people. You have अभी आप मैं टीपू सुल्तान का बता रहे हैं कि भाई इतने लोग खाना खाने आएंगे, फ्री में बट रहा है. आपको यहाँ पे 25 मिनट लग गए 3 मिनट की जर्नी को, 4 मिनट की जर्नी को. हाँ, when you see Karachi, we have everything. कल मैं जौहर में था, वहाँ पे बिल्डिंग भी बनी हुई है, दरख्त भी लगे हुए हैं, रोड भी सही है, मगर फिर भी धुंधला सी फीलिंग है. मतलब इट्स नॉट समथिंग आई वांट टू लुक एट. You having been to so many events, managing so many events, आपको सारी ट्रिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स पता है कि जी एक छोटी सी बेकार सी चीज़ को खूबसूरत कैसे बनाना है. What would you suggest to an individual living in जौहर, गुलशन, नाज़ाबाद, जहाँ भी रहता है, डिफेंस, कि वो अपने लिए छोटी सी चीज़ क्या कर सकता है कि वो अपने इलाके को या अपनी गली को या अपने घर को खूबसूरत कर सके?
I think very, very amazing question. I would love to give my feedback. Once I happened to be in Turkey, me and my mother, and we were walking down a street in Antalya. So what we saw कि एक बाज़ार ना खुल रहा था, और it was an old bazaar. And what happened कि सारी दुकान वालों ने अपनी अपनी दुकान के आगे एक एक बाल्टी पानी का डाला और सब ने अपनी अपनी दुकान के आगे झाड़ू लगाई. In 3 to 5 minutes पूरी गली साफ़ हो गई. And I think we need to do similar thing in Karachi. सबसे पहली चीज़ कि people need to own the city first of all. अफसोस तब होता है जब मैं देखता हूँ अक्सर कि कचरा फेंकते हुए ज़्यादातर लोग बड़ी गाड़ियों वाले नज़र आते हैं. ट्रैफिक रूल्स तोड़ते हुए ज़्यादातर आपको बड़ी गाड़ियों वाले नज़र आते हैं. दैट्स व्हेयर यू गो लाइक ओ शिट मैन, दे हैव बॉट दिस अमेजिंग कार, दिस अमेजिंग व्हीकल, बट 2 रुपए की तमीज़ नहीं सीख पाए, या वो अगर कहीं से मिल रही होती तो शायद ये वो भी ख़रीद लेते. I think one step at a time. गली मोहल्ले को अगर क्लीन करना है, so obviously people need, एक जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है कि सफाई निफ्स ईमान है. सो निफ्स ईमान तो वैसे ही बहुत शॉर्टेज है हमारे यहाँ. सबसे पहले उसके ऊपर काम करना पड़ेगा कि अगर गली में सब लोग अपने अपने घर के सामने वाला हिस्सा ही साफ़ कर लें तो आपका पूरा गली साफ़ हो सकता है. अगर आप अपनी अपनी ऑफिसेज और अपनी अपनी दुकान के आगे चीज़ें क्लीन कर लें. नंबर सेकेंड, विच इज़ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग, आई फील people have stopped raising their voices somehow. Like what I have learned from my father or from my mother, like if my mother once, like me and my mother were going through an immigration process at Karachi airport, और हमारी बारी आई और उसके पीछे एक ऑफिसर आया, उसने एक पलंदा पासपोर्ट का रखा. And the moment that immigration officer was taking on this passport, तो उस बेचारे की शामत आई थी कि मेरी अम्मी ने उसको लेक्चर स्टार्ट कर दिया एंड उसको इतना जलील किया कि उसने सॉरी किया अम्मा से एंड दिस एंड दैट. एंड आसपास जितने लोग खड़े हुए थे उनके सामने भी वो चीज़ें हो रही हैं, बट नोबडी स्पीकिंग अप. सो आई फील लाइक दैट पीपल नीड्स टू स्टार्ट रेजिंग देयर वॉइसेस.
आई थिंक वन गुड एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट इज कि मैं अगर लाइन में खड़ा हूँ, मेरे सामने कोई आंटी आ गई, आंटियाँ जो लाइन काटती हैं
आंटियाँ जो लाइन काटती हैं. उसके अलावा भी जैसे मैं अक्सर देखता हूँ इमिग्रेशन पे कि आप अपना पासपोर्ट दे रहे हैं और पीछे से ना एक बंदा आएगा और वो एक फैमिली ना 8 लोगों की दूर खड़ी हुई है मुंह छुपाते हुए. ओ भाई, लाइक 8 बंदों की लाइन है, आप लाइन में लग के आ जाओ. वाई डू यू हैव टू लाइक शो ऑफ योर पावर ईच टाइम? एंड देन आई हैव रियलाइज वन थिंग कि मैंने बहुत दफ़ा ऐसे लोगों को देखा है जो लाइक, मैं अमेरिका से जहाज़ में चढ़ा, वहाँ से साथ थे, ट्रांजिट फ़्लाइट एयरपोर्ट पे भी उनको देखा, कराची उतरते ही वो बदमाश बन गए ना, लाइन जल्दी चलाओ और दिस एंड दैट. वो दुबई एयरपोर्ट पे बिल्कुल तमीज़ से थे, वो JFK पे बिल्कुल तमीज़ से थे, या वो अतातुर्क एयरपोर्ट पे बिल्कुल तमीज़ से थे. कराची आते ही उनका जानवर जाग गया बिकॉज दे नो दैट दे हैव द पावर हियर. सो आई फील लाइक दैट Karachiites, they need to remain positive. Yes, there are a lot of problems in this city, but again, city is from its people. And number 2, they need to start raising their voices as well. अगर उनको लगता है कि कोई इनजस्टिस हो रहा है या कोई चीज़ बेहतर हो सकती है, सो दे नीड टू स्पीक अप एंड रेज देयर वॉइसेस, बी इट एनीथिंग. एंड नंबर 3, दैट दे नीड टू स्टार्ट कोलैबोरेटिंग विद ईच अदर. छोटी सी एग्जांपल है कि हमारे यहाँ जैसे ग्राफिटी कॉन्सेप्ट अब थोड़ा थोड़ा आ रहा है, या ड्राइंग कॉन्सेप्ट अब आ रहा है कि अब वॉल्स के ऊपर अच्छी, वरना सिर्फ आमिल बंगाली बाबा ही मिलता था आपको पूरे कराची में. नाउ यू सी दैट among some flyovers and stuff आपको थोड़ा आर्ट नज़र आएगा. उसकी प्रमोशन की थोड़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. एंड लास्ट बट नॉट लीस्ट, आई थिंक पीपल नीड टू स्टार्ट लिसनिंग टू द यंगर वॉइसेस एज वेल. वरना हमारे यहाँ सिर्फ ये कॉन्सेप्ट रहा है कि जो बड़े कहेंगे वही होगा. सो आई फील लाइक दैट यंग जनरेशन कैन एड अ लॉट टू द ब्यूटी ऑफ द सिटी, एंड देयर वॉइसेस नीड टू बी हर्ड, देयर आइडियाज़ नीड टू बी टेकन सीरियस. Maybe they can come up with some amazing ideas.
See. So, I'd like to know a little more about the event that you're telling me about. नाम मैं आपसे कहूँगा, आप ही लें.
Which event?
The one that you had before COVID.
Okay, all right. I can take the name. So like I was once in New York, spent some time there, few months, and I attended an event there. So पहले मुझे भी नहीं पता था इस event के बारे में. A friend took me there. So it's called Fuck Up Nights. It's the opposite of TED Talks. So in TED Talks, let's say you talk about your success stories.
Yeah.
So at Fuck Up Nights, you talk about your failure stories.
No.
So it's about sharing your fuck ups basically. So it started off in Mexico. There were a few friends, and they were like just sharing their stories with each other, and they're like, यार एक दूसरे से stories share करने से थोड़ा हल्का feel होता है. तो they made a community out of it, and they call it Fuck Up Nights. It's one of the largest dialogue community in the world. They have more than 400 chapters around the world, and we brought the Karachi chapter, like we brought it in Karachi. When I attended their first event, I was impressed. I was like, okay, we have a lot of failure stories. And हमारे यहाँ concept ये है कि लोग अपने failures बताते ही नहीं एक दूसरे को, शर्म आती है लोगों को बताते हुए. So Fuck Up Nights is all about owning your failures and helping others through your failures as well. So psychology says that if you're sitting somewhere and somebody is bragging about his or her success story, chances are you might go in depression. You'll be like, oh, ये साला तो lucky था, I'm very unlucky यार, मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. But if you see a very successful man standing on the stage and talking about his or her failure, you'll be like कि अगर ये fail हो सकता है या ये fail हो सकती है तो मैं कौन होता हूँ? You know, that gives you some sort of confidence. So that is all about fuck up nights. We did a couple of gigs in Pakistan, in Karachi. We had some amazing speakers as well, and people had amazing experience. It was a fun thing. We're thinking to revive it again. And
No, I'd love
take
to
it
see
the
if we
next
can even
level.
collaborate on that. I mean,
For sure, why not?
startup community of startups की कितने failures होते हैं.
I think it's a human. मुझे नहीं
Yeah.
लगता कि कोई ऐसा इंसान हो जो बोलेगा कि यार मैंने कभी failure नहीं देखा.
ऐसे ही है.
That's impossible. So we all go through failures, and once you own it, once you start sharing with others, then it gives you a learning as well, and it gives others some learning as well. So this is all fuck up nights. When we did the first gig, तो लोगों ने कुछ और ही समझा. मैं बहुत अजीब जो इससे inboxes पे messages भी आए. But then we always clarified कि we call it fun. So it's like fuck up nights. So in short form, it's called fun. Yeah. So we were thinking to resume it soon, inshallah. Let's see.
मैं जो बताइएगा कि कब करना है मैं भी
Zarur.
इसका
And the good part about fuck up nights is that you can have smaller versions of it as well. So let's say if we're doing a startup grind event, so you can have a fuck up nights at startup grind.
Right.
Yeah, we can give you the rights for that.
Done. ऐसा करते हैं.
So you can have your smaller gigs as well.
बल्कि let's see if we can do it this Friday as well.
Why not? Why not? Get some people who can share some failure stories.
वो तो सबसे करा लेंगे आप फिक्र नहीं.
Done scene.
So I think all the questions that I had in mind and that I wanted to get out from you, I've gotten. If there's anything that you feel I missed out on, or if there's anything that you'd like to give advice, please go ahead.
I think I can pretty random conversation we had. Very extempore, I would say. And extempore is always good. Scripted में वो मज़ा नहीं आता. I'm not sure that if there's any, like there can be various things we missed out, but there can be various things that we covered as well. I think मैं इतना experienced नहीं हूँ कि मैं लोगों को advice दूँ. I can just talk about myself. I just say that follow your passion. This is what I always say. If I go to any university or educational institute, or I get to talk to the young people, because I started from the scratch. I still remember my struggling period that I lost my father at a young age and then had to get out of the house in a very serious manner. And when I started business, I had no option of failing. You know, like I had to do well. I had to be something. Did a lot of experiments as well. So अभी भी होता है कि like sometimes people ask me कि यार आप ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हैं वैसे क्यों कर रहे हैं. So it's like I just go with my gut feeling. I sometimes get a feeling and I just go with it. And मैं एक इसको इस तरीके से पेश करता हूँ इस चीज़ को कि if I would have known 15 years ago that I would be this today, I might have taken less stress. I might have enjoyed my life a little more. Not that I didn't enjoy my life, like alhamdulillah, great life. But I feel like अगर मुझे 15 साल पहले पता होता कि मैं इस मुकाम तक आऊँगा तो शायद मैं अपनी ज़िंदगी थोड़ा differently जीता. So what advice I always give to others is that you never know what you would be in the future. So stop taking so much of stress. So now I run my business in a very lucky go happy manner. Okay, भाई जो होगा देखा जाएगा, जो नसीब में है वो मिलेगा. Yes, we do our due amount of hard work. It's not like we're being lazy and then thinking about it. So yeah, just one advice: follow your passion, be consistent, and जो होगा देखा जाएगा. Don't worry.
That's so true. Well, thank you so much for your time, finally. And I'm really looking forward to a fuck up night, but also to see you more often. And if there's anyone who'd like to learn more about you, how can they reach you? Is LinkedIn a good platform or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Hasan Daudpota. You'll find me on Instagram with the same name, on LinkedIn with the same name as well. And Hasan.Daudpota, same on my Gmail address as well.
Perfect.
So I think I'm pretty accessible on LinkedIn and Instagram. So you can.
अगर आपको कोई अच्छा सा event कराना है तो हसन भाई is the person to go to. शादी नहीं, but उसके अलावा he's a great person to learn from. And great experiences. I really recommend connecting with him and getting to know him more. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Saad. Pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.